So hello everyone. I think there's a few of you already here waiting, ready to go. But those feelings that we are experiencing are very similar to this grieving model. So I started to think about this yesterday and I thought, what is it that we're grieving? We're grieving a previous way of being. We're grieving that physical contact, the things that we used to do that would lift our spirits. So we expect the process to go like this, don't we? In anything that we do, you can relate this to your team, you can relate this to a new task that you've started, you can relate it to a healthy eating plan, a keep fit plan, or a new project that you've taken. We think, yeah, okay, we're going to go from A to B. We think that in our mind and we plan for that in our mind, and yet we all know in reality that it's not. It's that squiggle that you're seeing there. Now, what I found really interesting here was that it reminded me of the Tuckman's theory of forming teams. So some of you will be quite familiar with this from any kind of leadership training or HR training, this kind of thing. This looks similar, doesn't it, to that grief model that we looked at? How interesting is that? So when you apply this to work, then you are actually developing a new team process. So whether you are a leader or whether you are a team member and you're working for a leader or a manager, or you're both, what we can't be expecting at this point is that high performing team, maybe not even performing, because where are we? Where is your team? Now, it could be in any one of these columns. Where are you personally? So as you can see, imagine that there's three people. Let's say this is a team or a family. It will work for either. And it's about understanding yourself better. If this situation brings us anything, it's about understanding yourself more and understanding other people around you. And we have an upward spiral, we have a downward. Everybody does. What your indicators are that tell you you're going down your spiral will be very different to mine. But what I'd like to do is just give you a little bit of a roundup of how I see mindfulness, because this is where it can help. Now, we all know that mindfulness is about living in the now. But I always ask people, how? Because when you are feeling intense, if you are going through a freak out, if you are having a meltdown, if you're experiencing rage or intense fear, it's very hard to have a word with yourself and say, calm down, or why are you going over the top? And it's even worse if somebody says that to you, isn't it? Someone says calm down to you when you're feeling like intense, it almost amplifies it. What's happening there is you've got cortisol and adrenaline at the height because you're in fight and flight. So on the other side, it might be that you start off with a low mood and then you get bored. So it's all about looking at your patterns, your flags, and your behaviors. So for example, if we know what kind of feelings that we're having, what is going on in our mind and what's going on in our body. For me, I start to scrunch my shoulders. That's why I do a lot of shoulder rolls in yoga and this kind of thing. I start to get breathy here. I get palpitations. Other things that are, causing me pain on a daily basis, patterns in my mind, people, places, experience, these are the things that are worth putting a little bit of time and working on. And once you start to find your old toolkit, you can find those little things that shift you. It's not a case of going from the bottom of the spiral right up to the top of the other spiral, to joyful, happy, happy, joyful. That is not how it works. They're called spirals for a reason. So when you start on that downward spiral, it builds momentum like that, doesn't it? So all we need to do is sidestep across into the other spiral, and just like the momentum goes one way, it goes the other way. So all you need to do is flick that switch just gently. Now for me, humor always works. If somebody can make me laugh, if I can see something funny, being mindful not to fall down the social media rabbit hole. But if something makes me laugh, it brings those endorphins in, it brings the dopamine in, something shifts. And then I think, oh yeah, I think I will go and make that call. Or I think I will go and have that shower now after all. So it starts to build, and then you go, maybe I will do a little bit of exercise today. Sometimes we give ourselves such big expectations to go from one to the other. So the image on the left here is when we're thinking lots, and it's like intensity, and it feels like what my best friend says, bees in brain, zzz, the radio, the things that you're thinking about, the business, your planning, the people in your house, noise, noise, noise. But the meditation itself brings it down to this kind of stillness for a moment, which is absolutely amazing. So one exercise I'd like to leave with you that you can do in your own time is something called the drains and radiators. Now, this is a really simple way. I like to simplify things. So everything that we've just gone through now, let that just sink into your mind, let that seed plant, and just kind of keep it in your mind over the next few days. If there's anything that you do, is to just sit down and maybe write this. What are the things that lift you? What are the things that give you energy? Are the things that relax you? Are the things that generally make you feel good? And what are the things that bring you down, that stress you out? And this is really about being authentic with yourself. This exercise, and you just said, right, for the next week, I'm going to try one thing from the positive list and try to reduce at least one thing from my negative list.